individual alternate votes from each SONYMA board member.
Ruthann?
Aye.
Present.
Present.
Mr. Olzak?
Aye.
Present, okay. Mr. Capel?
Present.
Mr. Freeman?
Present.
Professor Ford?
Present.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Present.
Ms. Great. I ask for a motion for the SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee.
So moved.
Second?
Ruthann?
Second. Aye. Present.
Second.
Yes.
Second.
All the above. Second.
I will now ask for individual votes from each SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee member.
Ruthann?
Present.
Present.
Mr. Olzak?
Present.
Mr. Capel?
Present.
I ask for a motion for MBBA and TSFC.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
I will now ask for individual votes from each MBBA and TSFC board member. Mr. Olzak?
So moved or present, whatever.
Present, great. Right now, the answer is present. Mr. Sanfilippo?
Present.
Ms. Baldwin?
Present.
Nice to see you. Now we'll open the audit committees. I will ask for a motion for the SONYMA Audit Committee.
Jesse?
So moved.
Present, just say present. Okay, move. Oh, yeah. Second?
No.
Second.
B.
B, great.
Thanks.
I will now ask for individual votes from each SONYMA Audit Committee member. Mr. Olzak, answer present. You're here. Ms. Gonzalez?
Present.
Present, great. I ask for a motion for the HFA, HTFC, and AHC Audit Committees.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Jesse?
Second.
No, Jesse.
Second.
I will now ask for individual votes from each HFA, AHC, and HTFC Audit Committee member. Mr. Olzak?
Present.
Yes, okay. Mr. Curtis?
Present.
Okay. I ask for a motion from the MBBA and TSFC Audit Committees.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Jesse?
Second.
Great. I will now ask for individual votes from each MBBA and TSFC Audit Committee member. Mr. Olzak?
Present.
Say yes. Okay,
Yes.
Mr. Sanfilippo. Mr. Sanfilippo?
Yes.
So these are like trick questions, you know. Now we'll open the governance committees. I ask for a motion for SONYMA Governance Committee.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
I will now ask for individual votes from each SONYMA Governance Committee member. Mr. Olzak?
Yes.
Excellent.
I'm a yes.
Okay, Mr. Capel?
Yes.
This seems like a game. Okay, I will ask for a motion for the HFA, HTFC, and AHC Governance Committees.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Jesse?
Second.
No.
Second.
Jesse.
Okay. Sorry.
I now ask for individual votes from each HFA, HTFC, and AHC Governance Committee member. Mr. Curtis?
Present.
Say yes.
Yes.
Mr. Olzak?
Yes.
I ask for a motion from the MBBA and TSFC Governance Committees.
Linda?
I will so move.
Do I have a second?
Jesse?
Second.
Jesse, stay second. Second. Okay, good. I will now ask for individual votes from each MBBA and TSFC Governance Committee member.
Linda?
Present.
No, you say yes.
Yes. Oh, yes, sorry.
Mr. Olzak,
Yes.
excellent. The meetings of the various boards and of the audit and governance committees are officially open. As items are presented to each board and committee throughout today's meetings, these motions and seconds will be used unless specific items call for a different vote, or unless any board member or director wishes to record his or her vote differently. The meetings of the various boards and of the audit committees are officially open.
Thank you,
Return to-
Diana, and thank you, everybody. That felt longer and slightly more painful than usual. I operate under the theory that you can say Happy New Year to people you haven't seen in the new year. So Happy New Year to you all, and welcome to our first meeting of the year.
Happy New Year.
I'll talk. Thank you. I was going to just talk for a minute about the governor's state of the state, which many of you probably read some of the highlights of, which she gave earlier in January. We have been very hard at work on that, as I have mentioned, I think in prior meetings to what she announced in January. There's a lot in the budget as it relates to, in general, there's a lot in the budget as it relates to housing, and specifically sort of one of the keystones of the governor's speech is what she's calling the housing compact. And this is premised on the crisis that we're in around housing that stems from, if we look back 10 years, we see that we created about 1.2 million jobs in the state, and we created about 400,000 units of housing. There is, as you all know, enormous pressures on rental prices and home prices across the state, and the currently, I think in New York City, the median rental rent price is double what the median family is earning. So it is becoming increasingly unaffordable. And it's not just New York City, it's the rest of the state. We always talk about rent burden in New York City, but rent burden exists in every region of the state. It's not particular to New York City. And it's largely a result of the lack of building. When we look at New Jersey and we look at Connecticut, we see that they build, I think in the case of northern New Jersey, they built almost 200,000 more housing units than jobs they created. And Connecticut is about 50,000 more housing units. And we are in a deficit. Obviously, we're in 400,000 units to 1.2 million jobs. So this is really premised on what do we do looking forward over the next 10 years? If we do nothing and we have the same 400,000 units of growth, we are going to be in an even worse place than we are today. So the governor came to us and said, let's work on a solution for this. So we estimated that we think we need to about double that rate of production to go from 400,000 units to 800,000 units over the next 10 years. And I'll just mention them very briefly, but she talked about sort of three policy changes to get us there. One is requiring all localities to grow upstate and downstate by different amounts, but just sort of everyone does their part. We need to increase housing supply, and we want everyone to be rezoning and making changes to allow more housing to get built. The New York suburbs have been written of as some of the most exclusionary zoning suburbs in the country, and so getting localities to change their zoning is sort of a key part of this. The second thing is transit-oriented development, and as I made a comment earlier about the East Side access, there are a lot of train stations, Metro North, Long Island Railroad, and New York City Subway that actually have a lot of capacity for residential around them. So the second part of her plan is to say to localities that have a train station, you have to allow residential multifamily around your train station. You can do it how you want, but we want to see residential at the train stations because as a state we have put, I can't remember the number, but it's certainly begins with a B, and it's an enormous investment into commuter rail infrastructure around New York City. And then the third sort of bucket of things are some changes in New York City to allow more commercial office buildings to convert to residential, and also to allow New York City to legalize basement apartments, which has been something in the wake of the flooding from Ida a couple years ago, 2 years ago, has been very much top of mind for the city and for advocates and for safety. So those are, and I'm happy to talk. I've been talking excessively in a lot of detail about these since the announcement to try to explain what we're doing. We are, as you all know, entering the budget process, which the governor is going to go through her budget on February 1st next week. And then we will begin the process till the end of the budget session at the end of March to have all these things get negotiated. I would just want to recognize it has been an enormous amount of work to write these. All the stuff that I talked about is all legislation, which our team here at HCR wrote. I don't think Brooke Davis or Matt Grail or Kate Van Tassel or Simon McDonald are behind me. I hope they're sleeping maybe. But they have been working all day at night. We have been on calls every weekend for the last month. And so I really appreciate that they do an enormous amount of work to get these big ideas that are very complicated into actual legislation that we hope will get passed. So that's just a little bit on the state of the state, which we're really excited about and will continue to be a big focus of us as we go through the budget process with Jesse and his team at DOB and other folks from the governor's office. A couple other things. We did go last week to Yonkers and hosted the first roundtable that was hosted by the county executive and also had the Yonkers mayor, the New Rochelle mayor, and the Peekskill mayor, as well as folks from the clergy, the nonprofit community, and the business community. We did it up at for folks who may remember, we did it at a project that was financed by HCR called Dayspring Commons. We did it at the Daytop Community Center, which is a beautiful community center that's in an old church. So it's a wonderful place to be talking about housing, but it was great to be out and talking, especially to business community, who I think feel the pressure of not being able to find housing for their workers, so much about why we need to be making changes like this.
Was the Mount Vernon mayor there as well?
The Mount Vernon mayor was not there. I didn't organize who got invited. I just attended. But it was great, and we're going to continue to do roundtables around the state and different types of roundtables and events. I also was in Rochester on Monday this week with the governor, where we announced a different announcement that's in the budget that's about lead paint. And as the governor said, I can't believe we're talking about childhood lead poisoning and lead paint in 2000.
That's another, I would
Okay.
think, a resource. I don't want to offer you up, Alex, but.
But we'll send you for now, we'll send you, when we send the board package, we'll send you specifically like an executive summary, highlights for each of the items.
Well, not just me, right?
Well, no, if anybody else needs it,
Well, I would think,
we'll send it.
I would think everybody else could benefit from it.
Okay, we'll send it to everybody.
Okay, yeah.
How's that?
Your children, you gotta treat them all the
Yeah,
same,
yeah,
Alex. You know,
We'll send it to
no
everybody.
favorites, no
No
favorites.
problem.
Thank you.
But I will say that,
problem.
like you, I've struggled with this. It is an enormous amount.
I'm back.
The memos, I do find that the memos, Professor Ford, I have found them very helpful. And again, for example, something we've discussed here, the mission statements. So those caught my attention, and I sort of spent some time like looking through those to understand them. So it depends on, each of you has kind of like your area of expertise and interest. So that I found that helpful, but I think this is a good
We'll
suggestion
do that. Yep.
to digest this.
I think we're back, Diana, so
I think we're back.
before we lose, let's go back to item 2 and just take the votes.
Yes,
For item 2 and 3.
So we're now, welcome back, everybody. So item 2, the resolution recommending the review and approval of mission statements of the agencies. We got, I think, hopefully everyone heard, we got some comments. We're going to incorporate those. Now before all 5 committees is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously reported, all voting in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motions are carried.
Excuse me, I don't know about everybody else, but we missed the last 7 or 8 minutes of the meeting, so we didn't hear comments on the mission statement. I don't know about Albany.
So what we did, some folks provided comments to make changes, and we are going to add those and recirculate it, revised. So if you have comments also that you think we should add stuff, the comments, we're adding some changes around energy efficiency and sort of green stuff, changes around MWBE. Was there a third one? I forget what, and then I think we opened it to where there are other comments to please send them. So same to everyone who sort of dropped off for a second. I think just Alex will send out the document, and if folks have edits, send them back, and then we're going to revise it and amend it with the changes.
And Andy, just so you know.
All right, well,
go ahead.
Can I make a comment? Can I make a comment about
Yeah,
the MBBA mission statement?
Yes,
I was just wondering what could we do as it pertains to outreach to a lot of these cities, towns, villages, as to the availability of what the Municipal Bond Bank Agency can do in the way of issuing debt on their behalf. I don't know. I don't know what I don't even think they know about that we are available to assist them in entering the marketplace. So I was just wondering whether or not we could try to develop some sort of a program or strategy to reach out to all these small towns, villages, or whatever that maybe that have a lot of difficulty entering the credit markets. So like I said, we don't have a lot outstanding with them, but I don't know if these communities are aware of what's available to them, as I said, relative to entering the credit markets to issue bonds.
I think, and James, back me up on this if you will, but I think the challenge with the MBBA is like in its structure is it's not that advantageous, I believe, to localities. So I think when we tried that a year or two ago, we didn't have a lot of luck, but
the value proposition from a credit enhancement, like a basis point value is difficult, but the economies of scale, I mean, you look at other states that have like, and we had actually, I think there's actually probably draft of a markup of the MBBA legislation that we worked on. But yeah, absolutely. In terms of creating a new homogenized credit structure that exists to create that economies of scale, that's kind of lacking from the MBBA statute because it was really spun up in the way it works under the ERA legislation. And so as a result, it was really meant to take in, you know, as facilitate the Build America Bond program, but not necessarily meant as a larger issuance vehicle for state, for local governments, which would benefit, to Andy's point, from exactly that.
Exactly. I mean, and we've drafted legislation, Andy, I think maybe 2 or 3 times, and we have tried to get it through the legislative cycle, have not been successful. We'll do it again. As you know, the only deal we did last year was the Buffalo deal that you participated in, where they came to us.
Yeah, that was the refunding.
Yeah, for the refunding.
See, that was a refunding.
Yeah, no.
But it seems it seems as though
Could I
the
make-
language in the mission is contradictory to what we actually do.
Well, the language, I think, in the mission statement is aspirational, and unfortunately, we really have not been able to put it into practice as a result of primarily the legislative obstacle.
As well as investment, right? Because you can't get to a homogenized credit structure and that type of thing without actually an investment in what that vehicle looks like.
Yes. Yeah, Lynn?
I know I'm outgoing, but my replacement will represent the Secretary of State. And we, in the Department of State, there is the Division of Local Government. And it seems to be maybe collaborating with the MBBA authority on a joint proposal that would maybe take a look at the data and the need and really support it. I think because of the connection with local governments, maybe it would be a stronger proposal and maybe get more attention. So, I mean, there's this coming year, and what we say in my agency is the earlier we get started, the better chance of success. So maybe we can get started.
We'll try to make use of that.
As a former small town mayor, I can tell you that the average small community has no clue that the MBBA exists, let alone that they're
Exactly.
resources. Right.
But I think also too, maybe as part of that, like, you know, and happy to help on this, but sort of discuss, you know, what the Vermont Muni Bond Bank does, what the Virginia Resource Authority does, what the Maine Muni Bond Bank does, because I think that part of it is, you know, maybe as part of the legislation, it's pushing it with the idea of an education session about the value proposition, especially for, you know, like, you know, it's a question of, there's so many under-resourced small towns that, you know, there's the CFO is thinking about 1,000 things, and let alone the bond issuance is like 1% of their time. And they don't, there's not that level of sophistication, but that's the value that the bond bank can provide. So happy to help think through that too.
Thanks, James.
Yeah, and I can also help with the all those government associations throughout this state, whether it's the towns, NICOM, you know, the GFOA, all these organizations should probably be approached to see, you know, maybe they could assist in trying to help us develop a program that would expand the municipal bond bank agency's value among small communities.
And it may actually be an opportune time because you could actually probably figure out how to take in federal dollars to support its initial seed capital to create this sort of type of over-collateralization that would be needed to homogenize the credit structure.
All right, homogenize the credit structure.
That's the bill.
All right, Diane.
Okay, so let's go back. So just the vote that I'm asking for is on the mission statements. What you have is what we have to file to meet our deadlines, but Alex will be collecting comments that we received here and give everyone a chance to see the revised language and comment on that. So with that understanding, we have, do I take the vote again, Alex? Okay, so assuming the first and second previously recorded, all voting in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Excellent. The motions are carried and the resolution adopted.
And the board evaluations, we did that.
And then I discussed the board evaluations. You have that in your materials. So we'll take a vote on that. Now before all 5 committees is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously recorded, all voting in favor, please say aye.
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 The motions are carried and the resolution adopted.
Great, now we're actually going to go to the procurement conversation. So Lisa, I think, is going to join us and talk about amendment to the procurement guidelines.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
And this is item number 4. So if you want to
Yes.
pull it up and read along, and Betsy's going to join us too.
The procurement and contract guidelines include an option to waive a full competitive process for contracts with MWBs and small businesses in amounts at or below 200,000. Staff now proposes certain.
Could you please speak up?
I don't think they can hear you.
Is there, oh, there we go.
I repeat it?
Yes, please.
Okay. The procurement and contract guidelines include an option to waive a full competitive process for contracts with MWBEs and small businesses in amounts at or below 200,000. Staff now proposes certain substantive amendments to the guidelines intended to improve the process and align our MWBE and SDBOB procedures with state law. The proposed amendments are as follows: to add service disabled owned veteran businesses as a defined term to our guidelines, to add SDBOBs to the listing of organizations waived from the full competitive process in accordance with the statutory monetary threshold limit, and to increase the monetary threshold limit for the waiver of a full competitive process for MWBs, SDBOBs, and small businesses from 200,000 to 500,000. These changes mirror the statutory regulations. Are there any questions?
And I misspoke. This is not the procurement report. This is just a change to the guidelines. So we do have the procurement report. We'll get to
I
that.
understand.
Yeah, okay.
Part of it, they always say you should ask if you don't know. So what is SDOB, please?
Service disabled veteran owned business. So we have 6% goals for SDBOBs and 30% goals for MWBEs.
And within that MWBE category, that's different categories of individuals, right? So we have Black, we have Latino, we have women, I guess that's pretty much it, Asian and AAIP categories as well, right?
There's a whole list in.
Right, so that may be taken into consideration in the scoring, and I could
sorry?
that may be taken into consideration in the scoring, and I can discuss that with my colleague in OPD, Kerry Torres, but this is a solicitation that's limited to only responses from MWBEs, SDBOBs, and small businesses. Then we can speak about the earlier discussion of how we're going to score these individuals. But these solicitations are not open to all vendors. It's just limited to MWBs, SDBOBs, and small businesses.
I understand. And I guess at my first meeting, I asked about this as well, because again, we have to speak frankly here. So when we're talking about MWBE, right? So the M is people who are self-identified, I guess, as Black or Latino or AAIP, right? Women women then would be white women because they're not in the minority category, which is fine. And I'm just wondering how that gets parsed out, because you can say the MWBE figure is X, but then what's the details within that X?
I think that's the detail that we spoke about in.
Sorry?
I think that's the detail that we looked at together with Alex and Kat in, I can't remember when it was, November maybe? But we can look at it again, and obviously now that Carrie's here, she can walk you through it as well. But we have that sub-level detail. It's not how the goals are tracked. The goals are tracked at the aggregate.
Okay. Because this is historic, I guess I may close to the oldest person in the room, but I was, really, when the MWBE programs were initiated, I was part of that all these decades ago,
Yeah.
right? And that has always been the issue. Here we are 30, 40 years later, and we're still trying to figure that part out in terms of how do you come up with MWBE and make sure that it fairly reflects what the entire goal in the first place was, which is to do something about all of these disparities that we have in this country and these institutions, in government, and all of these kinds of things. And so that the devil truly is in the details.
Yeah, well, happy to look again at the details.
Well, okay, I guess we can look at it. I will bet that we need to do something about it.
No, that too, of course.
I think for purposes of this, right, this is, and we'll come back to that also when we get to the report. Yeah, because this is just a single item changing raising the amount that we can, I'll say it, Lisa, because I'm going to get it wrong.
Raising the amount of the threshold limit for limiting competition for MWBs from 200,000 to 500,000 and adding SDBOBs as one of the firms that or entities that we can outreach to. But I was going to say maybe we should have a collaborative conversation with ESD because they are the ones who certify, and our goals are based on certified NWBEs and SDBOBs. So I hear and we can certainly evaluate on our side, but that's who we solicit to is the list from ESD.
You heard what I said.
I did.
Okay,
So,
I don't want to continue to repeat myself, but from the beginning, the MWBE categorization has had a flaw in it, okay, because
Andy, if you wouldn't mind muting, please.
Yeah. So the
Thank
flaw is just what I described, right? And you can have a big MWBE number, okay, but it doesn't necessarily reflect the need to address the disparities that the program was put in place in the first place. And that's what I'm saying.
Understood.
Okay, so let's
vote
vote on this and.
Okay, so this on item 4. Now before all 5 committees is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and seconds previously recorded, all voting in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried and the resolution adopted.
So the next 4 are consent items, but if folks, thank you, Lisa, and I think you're coming back, right? So we'll see you in a minute. The next 4 items are consent items. There's going to be no discussion unless board members request it. So jump in if you would like to discuss them. Number 5 is approval of contracts with Ganfor Shore and of legal services contracts with firms on the agency's non-bond panel. Anna?
Okay, now before the HFA, SONYMA, and AHC committees is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and seconds previously recorded, all voting in favor, please say aye.
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 The motions are carried and the resolution adopted.
Item 6 is an authorization to extend the contract with CASO Management for the provision of electronic records management systems.
Now before the HFA and SONYMA committees is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and seconds previously recorded, all voting in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Can you? I don't want to abstain. I don't want to vote no. But we had discussed this, and I will consent. I'll vote for this.
You're not on the governance committees.
Oh, then I'll be quiet.
But you can state your point.
No, the point is, again, and we mentioned
Yeah.
before, so I don't want to take up any more time on this, is I think someplace along the line, and very soon, we need to have an understanding that it's not enough. Well, what are the standards that this agency, this state agency, is applying when it extends contracts with any outside body with respect to its diversity, who works for them, what suppliers, all those kinds of things, right? This is understood. So
We're in the middle of the vote for this.
well, no, he asked me.
Yeah.
I just want the rest of the board members, I want them confused. So we're here on item 6.
Right.
I asked for a vote on item 6. So could I please get a showing motion if people vote in favor? Can we just do that one more time? I think everyone said.
Aye.
Excellent. The motions are carried and the resolution adopted.
Item 7 is an authorization to extend the contract with Tier Point for disaster recovery services.
Now before the HFA and SONYMA committees is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously recorded, all voting in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried, resolution adopted.
Item number 8 is a resolution recommending the approval of acquisition, disposition, and inventory guidelines and reports.
Now before the HFA, SONYMA, and MBBA committees is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously recorded, all voting in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. There is no unfinished business, so I will ask for motions and seconds to adjourn each of the agency's members and directors' governance committee meetings.
Assuming the first and second previously entered for all 5 committees, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 The motions are carried, the meetings are adjourned. The next governance committee meetings are scheduled to meet on Thursday, April 13th, 2023.
Okay, we are now going to move to the board meetings and start with the presentation of the items shared by HFA, AHC, SONYMA, MBBA, and TSFC. So we do that to tackle all the boards at once for shared items. Item number 1 is a transcript of the meetings held on December 15th, shall be deemed approved and absent corrections of the members and directors. And we then have a series of consent items because these are items that we just voted on at the audit and governance committees, but now they go to the board for a full vote. So I think we'll go through those. So the next 8 items are consent items. There'll be no discussion unless board members request. Some of these items were discussed earlier today. Item number 2, resolution reviewing and approving the mission statements of the agencies.
Now before the HFA, AHC, SONYMA, and MBBA, and TSFC boards is a resolution that was transmitted and signed. Assuming the first and seconds previously reported, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motions are carried and the resolutions adopted.
Item number 3 is the approval of the board self-evaluation.
Now before HFA, AHC, SONYMA, MBBA, and TSFC boards is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously reported, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motions are carried and the resolutions adopted.
Item number 4 is a resolution approving the annual investment report and quarterly investment report. This item has been deferred. Okay, does that mean we're not voting on it?
Yep.
Okay, then we'll go to number 5. Guess that's what deferred means. Resolution approving the agency's annual procurement report for fiscal year 2022-2023.
Now, this is a consent item, but I think, Lisa, did you want to just highlight for the board the annual procurement MWB?
Okay, so that's in item 5.
Item 5.
So we achieved 69% overall MWB participation in fiscal year 2022, and we've also provided a 5-year look back, which has all the look back, at least in the last 4 years, has been in excess of 69%. And so we're trying to, I think we have been exceeding our goals.
Exceeding it by over 30%.
Yes.
So I think maybe here I would ask if there are different data points that we should be including in here. I think we could prospectively take this report, right? There is in here obviously the split of the M's and the W's, but I think to the extent that you want further breakdown of that, I think this would be a good moment just to talk about what else in this report you would want to see, and then we can make sure that we're reporting on the right things.
Well, yeah, I've mentioned before, and I don't think that any of the board members want to get too deeply involved in your operations. On the other hand, we're here to advise and to provide a different perspective as you go forward in a constructive way. And so I think, if there's some further discussion to be had with respect to this, perhaps a Zoom call or something like that, we can kind of,
Definitely.
because it's impossible to do it in a meeting like this, and wouldn't suggest that. I don't have a clear-cut agenda because that's not my responsibility, but I do have some clear-cut perspectives that I'd like to share and hopefully see reflected in the activities of the agency going forward. So
I think
we can schedule that.
Yeah, we're going to schedule something, just us and with ESD, because again, they're the ones who we deal with on the MWB, so they get a sense of what our views are. So if you don't mind, and we'll do it together.
Okay, yeah, and it may take more than one
Yeah.
session, but it's not hours and hours of that. There's some pretty clear, perspectives on this that I think I personally would like to see, in terms of my role as a board member. I think it's not my personal perspective, it's the perspective of a lot of New Yorkers.
Just to make sure I'm understanding the
Alex,
chart.
could I ask to participate, since upstate has its own issues around how MWBEs get engaged and involved?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, B.
I'll be involved as well.
All right, James.
So I'm looking at
The only issue we have at that point is at some point, it's an actual meeting, right? So we may have to have multiple.
Oh, you're absolutely right. So we might, we just can't have a quorum, otherwise it's
But
a
we'll
meeting,
figure
so
out
we'll
how
do
to
it
do it in
separately.
a way that we engage everyone, but maybe can't be one. Or we can do it as a longer agenda item of an actual full meeting at some point.
I think the former is going to be better than the latter.
Okay.
Okay.
You have X amount of time for the board meeting.
Okay.
Could it be an educational meeting?
Well, I guess hopefully all meetings are
We
educational.
could do that, but
We'll figure out the
We'll
best way,
figure it out.
understanding everyone's interest, and thank you for participating. We'll figure out a way to make it happen.
Sadie, you had a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask on the chart. So I'm looking at the chart on page 4 under this tab, and the total expenditure number is 32 million, right, for fiscal year 22. And of that, total MWB is 11.7, and then below it splits out, which is 68. So total expenditures, including percentage paid to MWBs, is 8 million of the 32?
Of the
No,
11.
of the 11, of the 11,
That's the 69%.
correct.
Got it. Okay.
Because the
So-
exempt and the exclusions were carved out of the 32.
Gotcha. So the 8 million is not, the percentage is not on the total, it's on the 11.
On the 11.
Right, the total
11
includes,
is the goal of 30%. Is that right?
yes. So we would have done $3.3 million to meet the 30 or whatever goal, but instead we were at 8 million of the 11.
Okay. And then it splits down below. I see. Okay. That's helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, let's do the vote.
Alex, real quick, CFX is missing from the financial advisory panel.
CFX, they're on a separate contract.
Okay, they're not listed under the financial advisory.
They're not an FA, they're a computational consultant.
Okay.
Okay, so we're on item 5?
Yes.
Report? Okay. Now before HFA, SONYMA, AHC, MBBA, and TSFC boards is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and seconds previously reported, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motions are carried and the resolution's adopted.
Item 6, resolution approving the agency's public authorities reporting information systems Paris filing report.
Now before HFA, SONYMA, MBBA, and TSFC boards is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and seconds previously reported, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you.
The motions are carried and the resolution's adopted.
Item 7 is a resolution approving the acquisition, disposition, and inventory guidelines and reports.
Now before HFA, SONYMA, and MBBA boards is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and seconds previously reported, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motions are carried and the resolution's adopted.
Item number 8 is the approval of program budgets. Are we still in
Consent items.
consent items? Okay, sorry, I lost track.
This is the last one.
Okay.
Now before HFA and MBBA boards is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and seconds previously reported, all in favor, please say aye.
Now, just 1 second. I think there's an error in the affordable housing one where the principal and interest are in the wrong categories versus the expenditure. I would just take a look at that one.
This is in 8, James, in the.
Yeah, in the affordable housing. I think it's on page 103
Oh my
of the
God.
report.
Really showing off, James.
James used to work here, so he knows all this stuff. It's like having a plant.
If you look at
A fully
103,
engaged board
In which document is it? In the,
In the
program budget
In the
for-
program
Okay.
the
budget.
affordable, it's just the big one.
I'll
The
tell
affordable-
Michelle.
Yeah, it's fine. I think it's in the wrong line item.
We'll correct it, James. Thank you. But no, seriously, thank you for looking at it.
yeah, agree. Appreciate it.
Okay, now before HFA and MBBA boards is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and seconds previously reported, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motions are carried and the resolution's adopted.
Okay, item 9, approval of an amendment to the agency's procurement contract guidelines, increasing the monetary thresholds for procurement contract solicitations involving MWBEs.
That's what we did
This is
before.
we just discussed? Okay.
Yep.
Now before HFA, AHC, HTFC, SONYMA, TSFC, and MBBA boards is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and seconds previously reported, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motions are carried and the resolution's adopted.
There being no further business for MBBA and TSFC boards, Diana will now ask for motions and seconds to adjourn the MBBA and TSFC meetings.
Assuming the first and second
moved.
previously entered. Hold your horses.
Eager.
Assuming the first and second previously entered for the MBBA and TSFC boards, all in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motions are
Linda,
carried.
that's your
I
last
wanna
aye.
wish you-
Yeah, I said it too quietly.
Yeah.
Aye.
Okay, the motions are
Congrats,
carried,
signing
the
off.
meetings are adjourned.
Okay, Linda, I want to wish you the best of luck on your new endeavor.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, the
And for
world is
those
watching.
that remain, the next meetings of MBBA and TSFC board meetings are scheduled for Thursday, April 13th at 9 a.m. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Linda.
Bye, Andy.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Linda. Is that the extent
Bye,
of vote
everyone.
for releasing?
Yep.
Sorry, everyone else, you have to stay.
Now,
Okay.
Mortgage insurance.
Now we're going to move to the items requiring mortgage insurance committee action. These two items are related projects and they'll be combined for presentation and voting purposes. Is Mike Friedman, there we go.
Yep.
Item 10 is a resolution of the SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee approving 100% mortgage insurance on a $3,203,800 CPC permanent first mortgage loan for 357 West 115th Street, Manhattan, New York County. And item number 11 is a resolution of the SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee approving 100% mortgage insurance on a $2,005,400 CPC permanent first mortgage loan for 321 West 16th Street, Manhattan, New York County. Mike, take it away.
Both of these projects comprise the very substantial rehab of a vacant building into affordable limited equity co-ops. The units, upon completion, the units will be sold to former tenants, all of whom have been relocated, for $2,500. And units not purchased by former tenants will be sold for about $300,000, which is probably a third of what they would cost, or a quarter of what they would cost in an unsubsidized project. The sponsor of both buildings is the Genesis Companies and Habitat for Humanity. The insured mortgage on 357 West 115th Street, the insured loan amount is $178,000 per unit, which equals 20% of the project's total development cost of $893,500 per unit. The project would break even with a 19% vacancy rate, or a 30% increase in pro forma operating expenses. At 321 West 116th Street, the insured loan amount is $223,000 per unit, which equals 24% of the project's total development cost of $938,000 per unit. The project would break even with a 22% pro forma vacancy loss, a 44% increase in operating expenses, or all of the commercial space vacant. The MIC is being asked to approve mortgages, backup loans on each of the buildings if they fail as limited equity co-ops and become rentals instead. And the rents would be affordable at about 90% of the AMI.
Great. Thank you, Mike. Any questions?
I know I'm not on this board, but like, I think this is a perfect example to highlight that Genesis and the work that they're doing as like an MBE developer, and bringing those things out is like a good opportunity. But and it's a great project.
Thanks. Noted.
Like you said, it's 2,500 for the tenants that were relocated,
Yes,
for them to be able to purchase the apartment itself?
yes.
Okay. And they're being financed for that as well,
I mean, the 2,500.
for program, for them to
That's-
be able to buy?
It's an HPD. It's how they run their program. And I don't know that I know if they finance the
I
2,500.
don't know.
I think it's a
Find out.
savings during the project. I think they're able to, they don't have to come out of pocket for it. It comes out of either the rent that they pay is accumulated, something like that. But it's $2,500, so it's very, very favorable.
Yeah,
Well, for some people, yes.
Understood.
Understood.
But to live in New York City, to get the assistance to pay the $2,500, and to be able to stay in the unit
No, I understand.
after the building has been renovated and you've been relocated,
That sounds,
it's a terrific program.
it sounds like that would be between 8th Avenue and Manhattan Avenue, I think.
By Melba's
Yeah.
restaurant.
Yeah, one is 1 block east of the park and one is 2 blocks east of the park.
Yes, that's where it is. Yeah.
How many units total?
One is 18 units and one is 9 units.
How many residents are moving back in again?
I don't know, and I don't think that anybody will know until the buildings are finished.
It's their choice. It's close to my birthplace, actually.
Yeah.
So I was by there, and it's all boarded up right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, all of the tenants have been relocated. Actually, they were relocated some time ago.
Right around the corner from Melba's restaurant.
It's between Manhattan Avenue and Frederick Douglass Boulevard.
Mhm.
Okay, that's great.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a good one. Great. Thank you, Mike.
I'll take it
Oh,
away.
go ahead. Yeah.
Now before Sunny Mae Mortgage Insurance Committee are resolutions that were transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the Mortgage Insurance Committee, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motions are carried and the resolutions adopted.
Excited about this next one. The next two items are Sunny Mae action items. Item number 12 is a resolution appointing a senior vice president for single family programs, and I think Dina Levy is going to come present.
Is Durrell still here?
Yes.
Okay. Come up, Durrell.
Good afternoon.
Good. That's good morning.
It is,
Good
oh, good
afternoon.
morning. It's 10:30.
Wow, really? So, for those of you who haven't met, I'm Dina Levy. I'm the Senior Vice President for Homeownership and Community Development, which includes Sunny Mae. And it is my great pleasure to introduce Durrell Ford for those of you who haven't met her, and also to present to the board for your approval the appointment of Durrell to the new Senior Vice President for Single Family Programs, which is basically Sunny Mae. So Durrell came to us in 2019, first as the Vice President of Operations. During her time in that position, she made substantial improvements both to our technology and to our loan processing operations, which has enabled us to really grow the business. Ruth Ann stole my line, but yes, 2022 was Sunny Mae's best year in the history of the agency, both in terms of volume and number of homeowners that we assisted, almost all of whom are first-time home buyers. So in the fall of 2021, the previous senior vice president, Sherry Eccles, left, and Durrell took on the position of acting senior vice president. In that time, Durrell has also made significant programmatic improvements, including the expansion of our Give Us Credit program, which is a reimagining of our underwriting criteria in order to increase the volume of homeowners who can access Sunny Mae products, particularly homeowners of color and other folks who have been previously underserved in the mortgage market, as well as expanding the launch of a program called Down Payment Assistance Plus, which serves homeowners or new first-time homeowners who are below 60% of the area median income, which is a difficult population to serve from a homeownership perspective. But under these programs, we've increased our offering or lending to that population by about 33%, so super impressive. Durrell has had a prestigious career in both the public and the private sector, having done stints at Washington Mutual, Bank of America, related companies, and then for a while in state government with the Governor's Office of Storm Recovery. So with that, I will submit to you for your approval, Durrell's appointment to Senior Vice President.
Sorry, last name was?
Ford. Oh, mine?
No relation, I don't think.
Yeah. I won't admit it.
That's Ford with the E?
Yes, yes.
Then no relation.
Long distance cousins.
Again, I'm not on this board again, but I just want to say, like, the agency is, Durrell's amazing, and I think it's so great, and it's been, like, having worked with her, she's, like, an incredible asset to Sunny Mae, so
Thank you.
it's just super exciting.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Let's take a vote. Okay. Now, before Sunny Mae Board is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the first and second previously entered for Sunny Mae. All in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution.
Thank you.
Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much.
All righty. That was a nice one. Item number 13 is a resolution approving an amendment to the Asset Liability Committee policy.
So James is already smiling. James, familiar with this? A number of years ago, the Department of Financial Services that audits Sunny Mae every year with clean audits recommended that we implement an asset and liability committee to strategize about the issuance of bonds and the management of risk and other issues. So we adopted a policy in 2014 that we have been using, and we discovered recently that given the fact that the universe of hedge providers has gotten to be so small, that our hedge providers, RBC, Wells, and Bank of New York, we were all over the 25% threshold in the policy. RBC is at 39% already. So we're coming to you we discussed amending the policy so that, we eliminate the hard percentage and just leave it to staff to manage it. Use our best efforts to diversify, and that's the language that's in there. Because really, since the policy was put in place, the universe that bids on our particular products is just smaller, and it's just impossible. We thought about raising the limit, but we couldn't really figure out a limit that we could probably live with going forward. So our suggestion is to just have it at best efforts for us to continue to diversify. We also took the opportunity to clean up a couple of things that the asset and liability group doesn't really look at, like PMI. Those are issues that every loan has. So there were a couple of cleanups, but we're still maintaining the limits on unhedged and on variables, both of which we are substantially below. So, and we took the opportunity to just change a number of people have left the agency since it was formed, so we now have updated the membership of the committee.
Alex, I know I'm not on this committee, but one of the things is I know both on the GIC side as well as the counterparty side, the ratings threshold is actually the problem for a lot of the banks still coming up from actually the financial crisis. So I don't know if that's something you also want to consider, because there are GICs can be valuable, but there's no, finding a AA GIC provider or just being limited to AA swap providers. Obviously, diversity is important, I think, whatever, but the folks may want to consider looking at the ratings threshold too, as ability to expand diversity within that pool.
You think we could lower it to
high AA?
High AA?
Potentially. I would actually talk to the swap providers and the consultants that you have to figure out what may be advantageous.
Well, and see what that gets you too. I mean,
Well, yeah. But you obviously, the big thing is the rating agencies as well, because you obviously don't want to have that counterparty exposure.
We'll look at that, James.
That's a suggestion. Okay. And did you do item 16 also? Did you already do that?
No, I think we need a vote on 13.
Oh, excuse me, I skipped one. Okay, sorry about that. Now before SONYMA board is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for SONYMA, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
We're going to skip the HFA item for now so we can adjourn SONYMA. I know some folks had some timing constraints, so we can adjourn the SONYMA meeting. So we're going to go to two items that are information items. Item 15 is the MIF December 2022 activity report. And item 16 is the current agency procurements, contracts, and lobbying restricted period.
There being no further business for the SONYMA board, I will ask for motions and seconds to adjourn the SONYMA meeting. Assuming the first and second previously entered for SONYMA, all in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. The SONYMA board is adjourned. Our next SONYMA board meeting is scheduled for Thursday, February 16th.
Great. Okay. Now we're going to go to HFA. You all can, we only have actually, Alex, right? Two more
for HFA.
Two more for HFA, so we'll be fast.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Again, for those who came late, there are these birthday cupcakes, which a fellow board member is kind enough to provide as celebration of my birthday. I will not be eating them because I'm trying to watch my weight, but you're all welcome to the
Let's take
Thank you.
Additional card.
Okay.
Not everybody.
$2 a cupcake. That's
Excellent. Thank you very much. We appreciate that.
Okay. And thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Item number 14 is a resolution authorizing reimbursement to HTFC for HTFC PTAP funds used to assist certain HFA projects. And Jason Pearson is going to present this one. Oh, Stevie's on HFA.
Good morning, everyone. I'm here this morning to put through a request for HFA to reimburse HTFC for Preventative Troubled Asset Program, or PTAP funds, that HTFC has either already spent or already committed to spend on 5 projects in the HFA portfolio. The aggregate amount being sought for reimbursement in connection with these 5 projects is just over $2.9 million. These funds will be made available for future PTAP loans on HTFC properties. Just as a very brief background, PTAP is a program that was established in 2016 by HTFC to respond to exigent health and safety issues rapidly and preemptively in portfolio properties to ensure the health and safety of residents. Since the original allocation of $7.3 million upon the establishment of the PTAP program, there has been one further allocation from HTFC to PTAP in the amount of $3 million. And altogether today, a total of $10.3 million has been allocated to the HTFC program, by HTFC to the program. In such time, the program has made 18 awards, 5 of which have specifically been to the HFA portfolio projects. HCR has determined that each of its agencies should be responsible for providing needed PTAP funds to its own portfolio, and as a result, we're recommending that HFA reimburse HTFC for the funding already provided or committed to be provided by the HFA portfolio.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Any questions?
Just one question. In the memo, it says because of the aging portfolio, it's assumed that these projects will continue to increase. I'm curious if any thoughts about doing like IPNAs or PNAs on the portfolio to understand what that sort of liability looks like going forward?
I mean, we haven't talked, I mean, certainly, and you might be well aware of this, any of our projects that are, we have a pipeline of just, particularly distressed projects that we look at. We have IPNAs on all of those. Okay. Portfolio-wide, it's something we haven't done, but it is, we also, do annual risk ratings and other things too, so we have a sense of what's going on within the portfolio. This specific pot of funds is there, sometimes it's used for those projects, sometimes it's unexpected things come up, but that's the specific purpose of these funds.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I just want what does it look like, and how should we be thinking about forward-looking preservation strategies and risk management as well? So.
Now before SONYMA board is a excuse me. Okay, I lost my. Okay. Now before HFA members is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and second previously entered for HFA, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried and the resolution is adopted.
Now we're going to go to the AHC consent item. Item 17 is a resolution authorizing award of grant funds for certain projects.
Now before AHC is a resolution that was transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the first and seconds previously reported, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
We are now going to move to the items to be considered by the Housing Trust Fund Corporation. These items are found in the Housing Trust Fund Corporation Board Book. Item number 1, the first item on the agenda is the transcript of the board meeting held on December 15th. The transcript shall be deemed approved, absent corrections from members and directors. And item number 2 is an authorization of Community Development Block Grant CARES Act awards. This is actually our last item, I think, unless I'm missing a page from.
No, we have more.
Oh, we do? Oh, this is where apparently I'm done after this.
No, you're not done.
You're not done.
And Crystal is going to present. Do we have you, Crystal? You're very small on the screen.
Good morning.
Great. Hi.
Hello. This month, the Office of Community Renewal is requesting board approval for 2 amendments for existing CDBG CARES awards to the town of Tonawanda and Village of Waterloo. These amendments are to support cost increases identified in the bidding phases of the 2 projects. OCR is requesting approval to increase awards for these 2 projects. The increases total $328,000 in CDBG CARES funds. Full details are in the board memo and briefing sheets, but I'm happy to answer any questions from the board.
Thank you, Crystal.
Okay. Now before HTFC members is a resolution authorizing Community Development Block Grant CARES Act awards. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Item number 3, Crystal, stay with us, is an authorization of Community Development Block Grant Economic Development Awards.
As you know, we send these almost monthly to the board, but HCR makes CDBG funds available on an open round basis to support economic development activities. These grants are awarded to units of local government that then provide grant assistance to businesses that commit to the creation of jobs for low and moderate income individuals. This month, OCR is requesting approval to award just over $2.2 million in CDBG funding to support 6 businesses. This $2.2 million investment is expected to leverage over $10 million in private investment and support creation of 150 jobs. The Office of Community Renewal is requesting board approval to award CDBG funds and enter into grant agreements with the Town of Lenox, Town of Seneca Falls, City of Fulton, City of Hornell, Village of Fredonia, and the Village of Medina. Full details are in the memo and briefing sheets, and I'm happy to answer any questions that the members might have.
Now, I know if Ken was here, he would probably tell us an anecdote about one of these towns, villages, but I got nothing. So unless anyone has any questions,
Well,
we'll just vote.
now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing Community Development Block Grant Economic Development Awards. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
And I think Sadie has a hard stop now, so I think what we want to do is, if we could record your vote, Sadie, on the remaining HTFC items, we'll count them for the quorum. Are you voting in the affirmative for each of the remaining items?
I am, yes.
Thank you. So we'll note that for the record.
That's
Thank
item
you, Sadie.
4, 5.
5, 6, and 7, and 8.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sadie. Really appreciate it. So I think we now go to item 4.
Yes.
All right, we're still with Crystal. Item 4, an authorization of the Downtown Revitalization Initiative Awards, also known as DRI. Crystal?
Yes. The Department of State serves as the lead agency for DRI activities statewide, but awarded projects are assigned to participating state agencies with appropriate expertise and related project portfolios. HCR, for example, administers downtown grant programs, grants to rehab non-for-profit facilities, and other awards for affordable housing development. Awards for round 5 of the DRI process were announced throughout the fall, and over $36 million in awards will be allocated to HCR. $22 million in awards related to affordable housing developments will be advanced to the board later as other HCR funding is secured. But this month, OCR is requesting board approval to enter into grant agreements for 23 projects totaling just over $14.2 million. Full details are described in the board memo, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, okay, there's no questions.
Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing Downtown Revitalization Initiative Awards. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Thank you, and thank you. You know, this many rounds of DRI we've seen, so it's great. Crystal and her team keeps those going. Next, we are going to go to a new fun thing, which is item number 5, authorization of the +1 accessory dwelling unit program awards, and Rachel Weeder is going to present.
Hi.
Hi, come on up.
Hello, my name is Rachel Weeder. I am Chief of Staff for Homeownership and Community Development. We are seeking authorization from the board to enter into 13 contracts for the new +1 ADU program, that's accessory dwelling units. In last year's state budget, the legislator allocated $85 million towards the creation or preservation of accessory dwelling units. We put out a request for proposal for the first phase of this funding, and we had applicants which were local units of government partnered with nonprofit housing developers apply to administer the program. So the request is for approximately $23.5 million for these 13 grantees, and it will create or preserve nearly 300 units.
Any questions for Rachel?
Is it scalable? And you're sort of like, I mean, everyone's talking about ADUs, and like, is it like actually a scalable program, do you think?
Yeah, I think give us a year, right? We have to get these like contracts implemented. The money going.
Yeah, I
We'd
mean,
like it to be. We'd
These
like
are
it to be
amazing
going.
first movers, like, and that's great to see, like,
Yeah.
demonstration projects to be able to showcase successes as well. So it's great.
Exactly. And I think a lot of the towns are looking into, how they can make their zoning easier since they are in favor of allowing ADUs, to make it easier so that developers and homeowners don't have to go through the variance process to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So we may see it scalable in that sense.
It's also good to see the
Yeah.
diversity of like the communities that are actually working, which
Absolutely.
I think is important because that's traditionally NIMBY communities, which I think is like, it's amazing to see.
We have a lot of good Long Island, Westchester. We have some small towns, some big cities. It's a pretty good first group, we think.
It's excellent.
Thank
Great.
you.
Okay.
Now before the HTFC
you,
members
Rachel.
is a resolution authorizing +1 accessory dwelling unit program awards. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Great. Item number 6 is an authorization to establish the bipartisan infrastructure law weatherization program. And Samantha is going to come present. Sorry. I don't know why I was thinking Jason.
Okay.
Pearson, maybe I was.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Samantha Pierce. I'm the Vice President of Sustainability. And before the board this morning, we are seeking authorization to allow the agreement for DHCR to participate, for DHCR to transfer up to $23.5 million of bipartisan infrastructure law federal funding that we're receiving to DHCR to create a bill stimulus WAP program, which will leverage the weatherization assistance program and align with the goals of the CLCPA. In addition, we're seeking authorization to hire up to 8 employees to help administer the bill weatherization program. Additional information can be found in the board memo, and I'm happy to take any additional questions the board might have.
Wow, money from DHCR to us?
It's like Christmas come early.
It's like, when did that happen?
Just for a quick question, who are the community groups that you're like working with on some of this?
So we work with 50 different sub-grantees that deploy weatherization services. There's a full list that's found on the weatherization website, but yeah.
Sounds good. Is NYSERDA working with you guys on this stuff, or?
So NYSERDA runs a similar program, but we do not partner directly with the program delivery for weatherization assistance program. They run a program called Empower.
Got it. Okay.
Very nice.
Great. Let's take it to a vote.
Great.
Now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing the establishment of the bipartisan infrastructure law weatherization program. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Item number 7 is an authorization of the amendments to the procurement and contract guidelines. Item 7 was presented and approved as part of the HFA and Governance Committee meeting agenda. So unless anybody has any other questions, we'll move to a vote, or is this on consent?
I think, no, just a vote.
Okay, so this is now before the HTFC members is a resolution authorizing the amendments to the procurement and contract guidelines. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
Item number 8 is an approval of a salary range for HTFC senior officers. Item 8 is a governance committee and an HTFC board item. And
so
you are presenting it?
I can present it. So when the governance committee was created, they also adopted as part of their charter, setting forth as part of the committee's duties and responsibilities to review on an annual basis compensation and benefits for senior officers as defined in the bylaws of the Housing Trust Fund. Senior officers are the commissioner who serves as chief executive of the corporation, an executive deputy commissioner, chief operating officer, a general counsel, chief of staff, president of the Office of Finance and Development, president of the Office of the Single Family and Community Development, and chief strategy officer for portfolio preservation. Additionally, any other officers that may be designated by the members as senior officers shall be senior officers of the corporation. Staff requests the adoption of a resolution setting the salary range for senior officers of the corporation. The minimum senior officer salary is currently $166,464. The maximum salary is $250,000. The higher amount limit is not reflective of the maximum senior officer salary, which is substantially lower.
That one is aspirational.
We always have to have aspirations, Alex, you know,
Maybe one day we'll get there.
whenever. Okay, so, any questions? Okay, now before the HTFC Governance Committee is a resolution approving a salary range for HTFC senior officers. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC Governance Committee, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted. Now before the HTFC members is a resolution approving a salary range for HTFC senior officers. Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HTFC board, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried and the resolution adopted.
The remainder of the agenda items are informational. There'll be no presentation unless requested by the members. Item number 9 is review of secret concur summaries. Item 10 is review of type 2 secret summaries. Item 11 is review of amendments to the project descriptions for Public Housing Modernization Program Awards for the Greenberg Housing Authority and the Village of Nyack Housing Authority. Item 12 is a review of agency procurements and contracts in the lobbying restricted period. There being no further business for the HFA, HTFC, and AHC boards, Diana will now ask for motions and seconds to adjourn the meetings.
Assuming the first and second previously entered for the HFA, HTFC, and AHC boards, all in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
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 The motions are carried, the meetings are adjourned. Our next HFA, AHC, and HTFC board meetings are scheduled for Thursday, February 16th. Thank you, everyone, for your active participation.
Thanks, and we'll see you next month.
See you next month.
It's not too bad. 11, 9 to 11.
Ken had been here?
Would have been a little longer.
Noon?
No.
Take care,
That was
everyone.
good. Thank you, B.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have this luncheon.
Do your thing.
Party to the parking room.
Oh, nice.
Because they've been posting
Yeah. Well, good luck.
Right, exactly.
So we're making progress on the zoning.
Are you? That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I see you saw the stuff in the governance, so there's mapping, and she didn't probably talk about the mapping so much, but there is a mapping. We're gonna require localities to provide mapping information, and we're gonna have it statewide.
Everywhere.
Not just swap.
Yeah, fair. Everything, I mean, I work from a lot. You, as you know, it's hard
It'll
every.
be a great thing.
Because they're like not, that's not their main. Exactly. Anyways. Awesome, sir.
Yeah, good to see you.
Yeah, that's.
So we've been doing a lot of
Long
outreach.
time.
We've got a
Yeah, long
lot
time.
of feedback.
Yes.
The mayor, you know, the taking away our zoning is sort of all anybody wants to say.
Yeah. Got your hands full on one.
Yeah, there's lots of people who are supportive, but then also lots who are not and don't really want to talk about the substance, but sort of.
Alex, it's good to see you.
So, you know,
Chris,
and-
oh man, it was 3 years.